So my name's Rus Scammell. I'm the Unity product evangelist for Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and India. So as you can see, they keep me quite busy. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is what this thing is, right? The successful game development. What are we talking about? So I've been making games, gosh, I've been in the industry maybe 14 years. I started as an artist. I kind of moved into programming because all that cool art that you make just doesn't become anything until you code something with it, right? Until you turn it into an interaction. Plus, I was very jealous of what the programmers were doing with my art, right? And then I spent some time as a business owner as well because I wanted to see that aspect of it, right? How do you create a product, right, out of all this stuff? So that's great, you know, that's me, but who cares, right? I'm not here to talk about myself. I want to find out about you guys. Okay? So how many of you, put up your hands high and proud if you're game developers? Excellent. Okay. Who in the room is not a game developer? Can I get a show of hands? Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Now, how many of you are using Unity? I've got to ask that, right? Okay. And how many of you have made a game in Unity? Very cool. Number of hands are slowly dropping. How many of you have completed a game in Unity? You've finished one. Slightly different question, right? It's not that game jam game I'm talking about. Okay, very cool. How many of you have shipped a game? You've put one on the App Store. Hey, very cool. Congratulations. How many of you, and this is the hardest question, how many of you make a living making games? And wait, let me make a small disclaimer. When I say you make a living making games, I mean when you go home, you get to pay all your bills, and when you go home at night, your family still recognizes you. A few more hands dropped. Okay. So we saw how it went from, yay, games are cool, to I finished one, oh, I shipped one. Oh, man, right? Making a living. It's tough. It's tough. And when you see a title like this, you think, hey, he's going to give me all the secrets, right? Sorry, guys. There are no secrets, right? But I will share some advice from what I've seen, because I visit a lot of studios. I see a lot of people making games. That stuff out there, that showcase we've got this year, that's the highest production quality I've seen in a long, long time. Do you guys agree? That's amazing stuff, right? You walk around, you see the art, you see the audio, and then you think, how does this relate to success, right? How does that connect? Okay, so there's one last question, the most important one for me. Okay, and the first part of this talk is a little bit touchy-feely. Who are you making your game for? Do you guys know? Who thinks they know who they're making their game for? Yeah. That's about the normal number of hands, right? That's about the normal number of hands. And that's because we're passionate first, and then we think about audience, about product, about that kind of thing later, right? And the truth is, in your heart, if you were honest, you'd go, I make it for me. I make it for me. A lot of people do, right? And that's fine. But the problem with that is if you think in terms of, what are we talking about? Audience, which is why I asked you who you are, which is why I told you who I am, so that if I make a joke about code and half the room falls asleep, I know why, right? Wrong audience. So when you make a game and you make it for yourself, that's very cool, and you have an audience. But the audience is an audience of one, right? How many of you are trying to make a product? So when you think about success, are you defining success by putting your product out there and making a living? Who's trying to do that? Who's trying to make a living making games? Yeah? So if you're doing that, then you need to think about these people who are going to play your game, right? These people who are going to buy your game, they're going to enter your experience that you have made, right? And they're going to share that with you. Who are they? Who thinks that 35 and above and female is a great description of an audience? I see some ad guys, a couple of marketing guys. That's cool, I understand. But it's difficult to design to that group because there's not a lot that you can say that they have in common. Not necessarily in terms of design, right? So I would rather recommend that you think in terms of what do they enjoy, right? What do they gravitate to? Are they hockey players, right? Do they enjoy a VIP system in their games, right? Specific questions about gameplay. Specific questions about art style. What's also important is what they don't like. So if you have an audience and you're building for them and they're on a particular kind of device and you've designed an interaction that is just horrible, you need to know that, right? So you need to get feedback from your audience as well. So how many of you, one more question for the crowd. How many of you, when you started your game, you could see where you wanted to go? You had a vision. You could see it. It's all right. Be bold. You had a vision. Be proud. Right? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then you went out there with your vision and you said, hey, world, look at this. It's cool. And people said things about it. Right? People gave you feedback. What did you do with it? So the reason why choosing an audience matters and why a focused audience matters is that when you bring it out there, when you put it out in the hands of strangers and they give you feedback, you're getting it from the right guys. You're doing the right thing to your product, right? You're not just reacting to this mass market, hey, you got to make your spaceships green, not blue, like they know, right? You know because you have a vision, but you need to not be defensive, right? You need to invite this audience into your game, into your world, and understand that they're trying to improve it as much as you are. So listen to them carefully. Maybe not every single comment needs reacting to, but collect it and think about what they're really asking for, right? This is a little bit like how we work at Unity, right? We've only got about 500 or so technical people in the company. And we've got 5 million registered developers. So if we listened to every single feature that you guys asked for and we implemented it, it would be impossible, right? So instead, if your users are asking for the spaceships to be changed from green to blue, and blue to red, and red to purple, what are they asking for? Are they asking for you to change the color? You need to think about what they really want as opposed to their comments. They want customization, by the way. Okay, so under the hood in Unity, right, apart from all this touchy-feely stuff, right, it's very important. You want to get your audience on your side. But beyond that, there are a few technical things that you can do to improve your odds at designing a good game, at creating a great game. Now, when I was first asked to speak at Casual Connect, I was like, okay, so it's a 20-minute session. Awesome. My normal successful game development talk is an hour and a half. So I've removed a lot of it. But I've kept what I think is the most critical stuff for you guys, all right? Parts of Unity that you absolutely need to be using. Now, we've got lots of cool features, right? We've got physically based shading. We've got really cool new particle stuff, right? We've got even more interesting animation stuff coming down the pipeline. But this is my favorite bit. Who knows what this is? Who uses this every day? Okay, so this is my best friend. Okay, in Unity, this is the Unity profiler, right? That boring graph-looking thing, all right? And the reason why I love it is because when I use this on my projects, I apply this, I know exactly what's going on, right? There's no mysteries for me. You can dig in, you can find out what's happening on the CPU, you can find out what's happening on the GPU, you can find out what's happening with rendering. How long is that frame taking, right? How much memory are you using? Too much, right? Too much for your intended audience on the devices that you expect to find them on? And that's why this matters. Not because we want to be incredibly optimized, but because we want a product that works, right? You're up against 500,000 other games out there. So when your product fails and falls over, uninstall, 1-star review, and they get something else, right? So you want to use the Unity Profiler to check out what's going on in your games. Now, it's really cool. You can dig down really deep, and I'm pretty sure this is about as technical a talk as you're going to get at Casual Connect. But you can dig in to the profiler. You can find out exactly what's going on. Garbage collection, right? This hidden thing that goes on in the background when you're making games in Unity. You can find out exactly where those peaks are and what to do about them, right? We will even give you warnings about things that you're doing that you may not realize might be causing problems. And if you look here, this is the hierarchy view. So we actually list out every process that goes into running that one frame, right, into generating that one frame, and we tell you how long it took, how much memory it's allocating, and if there's any warnings, right? This is critical stuff. Now, how many of you use the profiler for optimization, right? So this is the normal use. What we'll see is, what I'll tend to see is a team will build a game, and then they get to somewhere around the middle point, and they go, I better see how this thing is running, right? Throw the profiler on it. Whoa, what am I doing, right? And by that point, maybe, architecturally, you've already painted yourself into a corner, right? So what I'm suggesting is, get the profiler on your side early on, start looking at whether or not architecturally you're doing the right thing, and then later on, once you've decided on a good architecture, use it to guide optimization efforts, right? So both ends of the development cycle. So one of the features in Unity that doesn't get a lot of press, you don't see it a lot in the cool new features of Unity, but really, really, really impressive and really important part, is the frame debugger, right? So you're building something, when you're building a game in Unity, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? A lot of stuff goes into drawing that frame to the screen. And everyone goes, draw calls, bring down the draw calls, right? Everyone tries to reduce that. Everyone tries to reduce poly count or texture size. But how is that frame actually being drawn? And if you know this, if you can break this down by using the frame debugger, you can understand where you're actually going wrong, where you can actually improve and have the maximum effect, right? So here we're stepping through the creation of the diffuse G buffer, right? How are those buildings being drawn? What's the overdraw like? Here's another one where we're looking at the shadows. So we can actually see how the shadows are being built up, right? To see if there's places that we can optimize. Maybe your shadows look ugly and you want to know why, right? The frame debugger will show you step by step what's going on, right? May even open up new ideas for rendering techniques. Now I'm pulling out critical features of Unity that I think that are underused or that people should be using more to achieve greater success. Asset bundles, right? So I see a lot of this, a lot of people trying to reduce app size, or they're trying to create an app that once it's out there in live mode, they can keep adding content, right? How many of you want to keep adding content to your games? Right? Because after a couple of weeks, everyone's bored, right? And they're like, hey, give me something new, or I'll uninstall, give you 1-star review, right? And ruin you. But with asset bundles, we make it quite easy to, one, reduce your build size, right? How many of you are already using asset bundles in Unity? Very cool, right? Reduce your build size and separate the idea of your actual data, your assets, from your game, right? This way, if you want to change things, you want to add stuff, it's a lot easier. Now, some of you may have explored asset bundles in a previous version of Unity and gone, wait a second, that's way too complicated, not for me. I'm not going to do that, right? But with Unity 5, what we did was we added a whole set of stuff on top of asset bundles that would make it a lot easier, where you could do things like just name them, just tag them, and build them, right? And you can add things like variants. So this is very powerful. It's a very small feature, but very powerful. You could create a variant of an asset bundle that is for powerful devices, and then one for less powerful devices, right? So then, when you've got your same game, the same app, running on a low-end device, we will pull only the required asset bundle from hosting, right? So you don't have huge HD textures sitting on your tiny little Android phones, right? And this is my favorite. This is really my favorite thing that you can do in Unity, right? How many of you know what the Unity editor is built in? Anyone want to venture a guess? So the Unity editor is a Unity app, which means that you can bend it to your will. You can code the editor itself, right? How many of you have made editor scripts? Anyone written editor scripts? Cool, right? So what you're doing there is you're telling the editor, I'm not happy with the way you're doing things. I want you to do things my way, right? And you're changing things by adding tools. You can change things by cutting into the build pipeline, the asset import pipeline, as well as creating your own editors for existing types or custom types. So this is really powerful stuff. By doing this, you can turn the Unity editor into whatever you need for your pipeline. Yeah? So absolutely explore this stuff. How many of you have heard of Made with Unity? And I'm not talking about the hashtag. I'm so happy to share this with you. Okay, so madewithunity.com, right? madewith.unity.com. So this is an area for us that we've created where we want to use our amazing community, you guys, right? And we want to help you solve the problem of discovery, right? As I said, there's so many amazing games out there. How many of you have played all of them? So there's one awesome game out there that some of you have not played. That's heartbreaking, right? So this portal at madewith.unity.com allows you to check out games made by Unity developers, to put up your own games, share your stories, right? Share the story of your team. How did you guys get together, right? Why are you making the game you're making, right? Very interesting stuff. Check it out. madewith.unity.com. Share your game and the story of your team. And I'm sure you've heard about all our fantastic Unity services. This is where we've been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years. The Unity services are there to maximize your success, and there's a lot of them. How many of you are using Unity ads? Right? Okay, so everyone's heard of Unity ads, but only a few are using. These are really, really cool ads, very high returns, rewarded video ads. Okay, so if you want to put ads in your game, you don't want to do it the hard way, check out Unity ads. Very, very successful ad network. Now, when we ask people Unity Analytics, right, we ask them about what analytics solution they're using. How many people are using an analytics solution in their games? Yep. Put your hands up high. Be proud, because you understand your audience, or you're trying to, right? You're trying to get feedback. Everyone else doesn't know, right? You've put your game out there, and you don't know what your players are doing. You don't know if they're failing to get to level 2, right? So all that work you did from level 2 to level 50, no one's playing it. And that's sad. So you want to find that out, right? So Unity Analytics allows you to get actionable insights on player behavior, right? This is not just number of downloads. That's nice to know, and you can be proud of it, but it doesn't actually translate into, did they enjoy your game, or are you failing them, right? Recently, we released Unity certification, right? How many of you guys knew about this? And the reason we did this was the number one question I get when I visit studios is, hey, do you know a good Unity dev? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but he's employed, right? And they usually are either employed or they don't have any way of proving clearly, right, that they have entry-level Unity skills. So we've introduced Unity certification to validate your skills as well as those of your employees. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole list because we are running out of time, but I suggest you check out some of the really cool stuff that we're doing at Unity Services with a cloud build, Collaborate, which allows you to make games together. We've got the multiplayer, which is really simple networking, if you guys have checked that out, and Unity performance reporting, which allows you to keep track of how your game is doing, where's it crashing, on what devices, right? That kind of thing. So with all these tools at your fingertips and the awesome Unity community behind you, making games has become a little bit easier, and success is that much closer. So on that note, I would like to wish you many more years of successful game development in Unity. Thank you, guys.